So we're done with this. Now I'm gonna go back and readjust these vertices here so they keep the flow, keep the. You always have to look into maintaining a rational flow along the curves, along the edges. So let's look at this one more time, and we're gonna notice that this area here has like some holes. So we're gonna go and look into that now. So I'm gonna turn on this wireframe unshaded, and I actually need a little bit of space here. I need a little bit of space between these. We have it, but at the same time I'm going to create another loop. But you see those are like triangles, so I cannot really make a loop. If I go and make a loop, look what happens. It doesn't do anything because it won't run around triangles. It only runs around quads. So let's get rid of that anyways. We don't want these triangles. So I'm going to select all the faces. And I'm going to actually extract this. I'm going to keep that piece. I'm going to extract this mesh. And since I might need it, so I'm going to go to my layers, layer editor, and just select it as an object and drop it into a layer and hide it. So we're left with nothing here. So I'm going to select the edge, so double click the edge, and let's extrude this edge and extrude it. Click on the gizmo up here to make it global and just start extruding it down. So we're kind of making this spacer here, creating the space. This probably is enough. And I'm going to go and start working on these holes. So we can see that there's a hole and then there's like this kind of half circle here, like a half circle where it's probably touching that this piece here has like a little plastic that grabs that semicircular indent, and it rotates the whole plastic reel. All the reel is rotated by this plastic cylinder. So let's go down here, and let me start by, since we're going to make these holes and these kind of semicircular like buttons, we're going to use one of these faces. So I'm going to use one of these and duplicate it, so I can kind of test it and see how it works. So I'm going to duplicate this face by going Edit Mesh, Duplicate Face. Let's move it up. Let's actually, before I move it up, I'm going to go Object Mode and select the face is in there. So in order to grab it, it's kind of hard to find it now. So the face is, it's here. And since we're cleaning also, let's clean up this mess. See, by extracting polygons every now and then, we end up with a huge mess, like a big kind of weird nodes and all that. So I'm going to select this node, which is a group, and ungroup it. And keep ungrouping, and you'll notice that we have empty nodes all of a sudden, like weird empty nodes. So select everything here, delete the history. So clean up. So that's like a way to clean up. Select everything, center the pivot point. So everything has centered, we've centered all the pivot points. And let's go to the last one and move it up and work on only this piece for a second. Since we're going to make one hole and one, we're going to have to make two different pieces. So I'm going to also duplicate that and move it up. We're going to keep replacing that later on. So let's work on the semicircular piece first. And I'll start with the simplest type of guide. I'm going to start with a cylinder, and I'm kind of repeating stuff that I've said before. So let's go to the cylinder here, and let's make it really minimal. Let's make this cylinder only six subdivisions. I only need to use that as a guide. So I'm going to delete anything I don't need. Go object mode and center the pivot point. So I want this up here. So in order to, I don't want to move it and find exactly the center. So I'm going to select it and then shift select this part and go to my modify, snap align objects, align object settings, and I want to move this to the middle of that, XYZ, and to the last selected object. So the last selected object doesn't move, it stays there. So this guy goes where this last selected object is. So I apply, go to top view, F to frame it. So you can see now that I brought this exactly here in this location. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to punch a hole in this little part with exactly the technique we've learned in the past. So I'm going to go to that part and start adding resolution with the edit insert edge loop tool. So I'm going to add resolution around it first. Enclose your hexagon, which was part of a cylinder. Enclose it and then make sure you complete this and grab these faces. I'm going to do the same as I did before. I'm going to extrude them first. Let's scale them a little bit. Let's move them out a little bit, and then I'm going to extrude them. This is a little bit different from the past. I'm going to extrude them and scale them in. The reason I'm doing that is, again, I need a little bit of a lip around so it will hold that geometry, and we'll fix it there. Fix it around this shape. So we're kind of adding a little bit of resolution, so we keep things really like high res at that area where the hole is. So now I'll delete these, and I go and grab these vertices. I'm going to start moving them and dropping them on this guide. This is only a guide. So snap to point, W, it's a very small area here, so let's No, I was just using it as a guide. So basically what I'm doing here is, like this guide, I'm going to put this guide into a layer. So like I created this hole. But it's kind of weird here. I'm just going to select the vertices, turn off the magnet tool, and kind of work this out in a little bit better shape. Space them out a little bit. I could even do it more manually, like the more the more it looks closer to the shape, Okay, so now I have, if I press 3, I have this nice clean geometry that I can reuse. Let's save this. Let's go to the next one and make the semicircular hole. Or actually, you know what, like if you see this, if you notice it, we have a hole and a semicircular kind of part that is subtracted. So instead of using this, I'm going to use that part, move it up, and increase the resolution here. Basically bring back that guide all the way up here. So now instead of, so I'm going to use this guide to open this other hole. So let me snap it. So I'm going to click on this edge on the Z axis and go to snap to point and snap this on this point, turn it off. I can paint the guide red. I mean, I can go and say, if it's confusing, just go to the rendering, select your guide, and add another material, and go to like a red color, so you kind of know what is what here. And now I'm going to press 1. So I need some resolution here. First of all, I can select these vertices and scale them out so we need 2 more points for this guy. How do we do that? I'm gonna go here, insert edge loop tool, bring one over here, and then one here. Actually, so we actually have them. Instead of like, I was gonna bring more, but we already have the points here. So vertex, snap to point, W, so snap to point, and let's get rid of this guide, or hide that guide. So face. So we have this. It's not enough. Let's get these edges. Only these edges here. I'm going to turn off the magnet and let's extrude them. So again, we have a little lip around that area. Edit mesh, extrude. Let's go to the and let's get these vertices. Let's move them. Let's get these vertices here and scale them so they're like lined up. And move them up. Snap to point. Middle mouse button, snap them exactly on that height. So I'm kind of making all the building blocks. Vertices. If you see a lit edge and it doesn't go away, go edge. Select all the edges and unclick. It's a bug. Okay, so I have everything and it looks good. Actually, this doesn't look as good. So I changed my mind. I think that it looks really weak. I can increase the resolution. So I'm going to go insert edge loop. I'm going to insert one over here and one over here. So I'd like to follow